So in our last video, we noticed that on our homepage, the sidebar actually wasn't completed. So let's make some needed changes. And to do that, remember we're using a partial for our nav bar so that any changes we make will be updated on all of our pages that we add the partial to. So to do that, you have to double click onto the partial. And you'll know you're in the right spot when the breadcrumbs down at the bottom here actually says the name of the partial, which in this case is called Sidebar. Now, once we're here, we can actually edit it. Now, I want to give you a little word of caution here. Before you do anything and navigate to another page or anything like that, you need to double click outside of the partial anywhere else on the page in order to make changes to that sidebar. Otherwise, once you go to another page, those changes that you worked on will no longer be there. So that's just a word of caution. So let's double click again onto our sidebar. And again, we notice we're back in our sidebar. And let's change this application name to Client Portal. Here we go. Close that out. That looks good. And now we need to add a messages and files page. So what we'll do is we'll come over to this home button and we'll copy this entire link block by clicking these three dots, hit copy, and then hit paste after. And we'll do that one more time because we need one more for the files. And then we can go ahead and change this one here from home. We'll change this to messages. And then we'll change this one to files. And that looks great. Now, one of the things that we need to change is we don't want three home icons. So let's click on the icon here, and then let's go up to the paintbrush icon right here. And we're going to actually attach a class to this. So let's call this FA-envelope. And we have to remove this FA-home. And there we go. Now we have a envelope icon. That looks great. And then let's do the same thing with the files. Let's click the icon. Here we can just remove the FA-home, hit the plus here, and call this FA-folder and press enter. And we get a nice folder icon. Now, let's double click off this partial to save those changes. And you may be wondering at this point, what is FA-envelope? What is FA-folder? Well, those are actually referencing what is called Font Awesome. So if you go to fontawesome.com, you can actually see the different icons that you can use in your application. So click on icons. Let's say we want to search for a mail icon. And once it loads, you want to choose the free version so you can see the free ones so you don't have to pay for them. And let's say that you wanted this envelope open with the text icon. Well, when you click on that, you can actually see what the icon looks like, but you'll notice here the HTML code, it says FA-envelope-open-text. Well, if you wanted to use that in your project, you could actually type that FA-envelope-open-text here in the class area. And that's how we're actually getting the actual icon that we can use in our project. So in case you're wondering, that's where you go to find icons that you can use in your application as well. Now, the next thing we need to do is double click outside of there to make that changes. And that looks pretty good. So we got our home, we got our messages, we got our files. However, remember those link blocks that we copied? Those have the home page links still in them. So we don't want that. We want them to actually go to the messages and file pages that we created in our project earlier. So let's go back. Let's double click onto the partial. Make sure we're in this sidebar in the breadcrumb. And let's click the first link block for the messages. We're going to left click that. And this time, let's go over to the gear icon up here. And you'll notice that the URL that it's pointing to is just a slash. Now, slash is just your main homepage. So that's great for the first block here, but that's not going to take us where we need to go for our messages. So let's just append messages. There we go. And let's do the same for the files block. Let's change that to files. Okay. And then remember, with the partial, you have to double click off of the partial in order to make the save change that you need. And we can see we're here back in the div block area. Now, you might be wondering, how did I know what to call that? Yes, we call it messages. Yes, we call it files, but why? Well, remember when we created our pages, we actually named them messages and files. And if we go into page settings of those, we can see that this slug is actually /messages. And that slug is where the URL link is that we're copying. So that's how I knew to append /messages. And that's also how I knew to append /files as well. So let's click on that, go to edit page settings, and you can see the slug for files is /files. So in case you are wondering, that's how you actually come up with that as well. Well, that completes our homepage. Our homepage is done. It's ready to go. Now let's move on to creating our files page.